China finances the majority of U.S. movies, and all 6 of the big movie houses, the production companies. And they pay, in some cases, $20 million per film to just show a line of communist Chinese flags, to show a Politburo, and to have the Chinese president, who's a dictator, save the world from the aliens. They paid money for that in Arrival. Look it up. They paid money in The Martian that America couldn't produce booster rockets to get to Mars in the rescue mission, but the Chinese had rockets. They had to get them from us. The U.S. won't even let us produce our own rockets now as part of a strategic sabotage under Obama. We have to get them from the Russians. The United States had as good a boosters as the Russians have now in the 70s. But the plans were destroyed under secret executive order. North Korea is saying that they will preemptively strike the United States and have threatened the American people to remove Donald Trump from office, so they'll basically hit us with hydrogen bombs tipped on top of intercontinental ballistic missiles. They've been terrorizing their own slave population for almost 70 years, and now they think they can shake their fist at us and do the same thing. Former congressman and all-around really intelligent historian and medical doctor, Ron Paul, will be joining us coming up at the start of the next hour. He's written a big article that's up at newswars.com, and it's also on infowars.com. Ron Paul, how to end the Korea crisis. Kim joined Saddam, Gaddafi, Assad on a list of madmen, says Paul. And Kim Jong-un better understand, when they start calling you a madman at the Pentagon, that means you're about to get killed, buddy. And I don't want this to happen. I don't want to have to go to nuclear brinksmanship, but you are about to get blown off the map, just like the Germans, just like the Japanese, and just like everybody else. So, you want it. All your little stupid communist outfits, you're about to get it. And I understand the globalists are in the middle of this, and I understand America's got problems, and I understand all that. But I was against the Iraq War. I was against backing the Arab Spring. I was against all the wars that turned out to be frauds. But this one is real and never stopped since 1953. It's just been hit on pause. Like you're playing a video game, you hit pause, or you're watching a movie, you hit pause, you know, go take care of something, come back an hour later. Well, you come back. How many years has it been since 1953? How many years has it been since 1953? 60-plus years. And the game never stopped, and we've got the third generation of a hereditary dictator there. And I understand it's not just that if we nuke North Korea, then other countries may preemptively hit us down the road. They might do it that day. Or India and Pakistan, who've already been threatened to nuke each other, might do it. Or India and China. They say war is like a virus. And once it starts spreading at that level, it gets out of control. Like fire, war is extremely dangerous. And in times of global crisis, political unrest, economic unrest, global hysteria, large populations, things of this nature come to a head, and planets align in a very dangerous way that adds accelerant to the fire, like 150-mile-an-hour winds on a dry day through the forest. And I've got 4 children. I know that I thank God and my lucky stars every single day that we're not already in the middle of a giant nuclear war, that we've survived this long. And so I certainly don't at some primitive level want to show Kim Jong-un who's the better man, and I associate nationalistic with America, and so I want to have a war so I can have some more national pride. The truth is our government gave them the nuclear reactors and the missiles to create a strategy of tension in the region and have an excuse for us to be there. But we didn't originally put the communists in. We fought them. As far as Korea goes, we did put Mao in 47, 48, 49 fully, just a few years before this war started, and he turned around and stabbed America in the back and saw us as weak and decided he was going to take Korea, Vietnam, and everything else. But the intellectuals inside our government thought communism was a better system because they'd be in charge of it. There's an article up on newswars.com right now where a West Point grad who's a Kaepernick fan has written inside of his hat, communism will win, right as he's graduating. That image, that photo, that story's up on Infowars.com and Newswars.com. We'll be getting to it, and we just tweeted it out at Real Alex Jones. There's a lot of powerful forces in each country manipulating to get more control over their populations and to obviously power grab even more control. But what you've got is a bunch of people in this nation that have been taught that it's cool, that have been taught that it's fun, that have been taught that that's how they get attention, that have been taught that the more chips on your shoulder you have, it's like more degrees. And the bigger a thumbsucker you are, and the lazier you are, and the more entitled you are, and the more arrogant you are, the more powerful you are. But of course you're not. You're losers. And the NFL and other gladiatorial diversions are what helped lull America to sleep. And we decided that the NFL was America. Not our coal mines, not our industry, not our churches, not our beliefs, not our Second Amendment, not our religious freedom, not our strength, not our will, not our dogged, rugged individualistic spirit that refuses to back down. No, we were taught that men out there in simulated combat were the greatest heroes. And as the society became decadent and more narcissistic and corrupt and more godless and more pathetic, just as Hollywood became completely degenerate and completely anti-American, so have all the other spoiled bastions of elitism. And now their final enjoyment is politically hating their own fans, culturally hating their own fans, and having giant, entitled pity parties directed by the most vicious, ruthless think tanks and crime syndicates and multinational combines the world has ever seen. If you ever wanted to witness the full-bore battering ram attack to knock down America and to break our will and to bully us into globalist submission, to hate ourselves, to hate our flag, to hate our freedom, to hate our military, to hate everything, because we're the big object to capture for global domination. You capture America, you have the world. The communists, the socialists, put in by robber barons, protected by the technocrats to this day, because they shit and enslave their people. They squat on top their slave populations. They are who the globalists want to deal with, in Carol Quigley's own words at Georgetown, top political science professor there, author of Tragedy and Hope, trainer of hundreds and hundreds of high-level State Department and CIA officials to understand the great vision, the great worldview, the great program of authoritarianism by every flavor, by every color of the rainbow, but still the great goal of total global domination and social engineering over every aspect of human activity, to the point of rendering a rebellion by the people as is impossible as a rebellion of sheep against the practice of eating mutton, to quote Bertrand Russell. They have many tools to control us. They first claim they have the moral high ground, that they're the intellectuals. They claim they're the resistance. They claim they're battling the establishment when they at the NFL and they in Hollywood and they in the big TV networks and the entertainment combines are all extensions of the true global ruling class that wishes to dynamite the ladders of ascendancy for their fellow humans so that they can control the development, both culturally, evolutionary, and spiritually, of the human species. It's a cold-blooded, full-bore, 110% pure, selfish power grab. And look at what we have here. 3 years of people kneeling and bitching at the bloated, pathetic NFL as their ratings are down more than 35% from just 3 years ago. And as the stadiums are more than half empty, in some areas it's down by 50, 60%, on average 40. Got the numbers right here. That's flatlining. And I love all the decadent, slob-like, pathetic, I'm going to skip this break, owners all trying to lock arms together against America, thinking that if they can just break the will of Trump, that somehow the fans will come back, when what you've done is assured that 30, 40% is never coming back. And another 20 or 30% will soon follow. And then they're going to stop watching you on TV entirely, because everybody's got a sick feeling now that they're in the enemy camp, that they're being preyed on by a bunch of losers when they're part of this. And so a beautiful thing is happening, because they captured the NFL. They captured American institutions. They've been beating us over the head with them. And now, because they pushed and pushed and pushed into all the sanctums of where people just wanted to take off time and sit around and, you know, watch the Fox Sunday football with Terry Bradshaw and all the rest of them, to just see unified America hate, unified virtue signaling, unified hype, unified peer pressure by a bunch of followers and a bunch of losers. Because if you don't bow to what the globalists want, and it'll be every other little social signal after this. If you don't give in to this, if you don't do whatever they say, if you don't accept that you're bad and you're racist and you're evil, and that you've got to politically do whatever they say in this new cult you're in, well, we're going to get you fired. You know, the Hispanic gentleman, I won't even say his name now because it's a shameful name, not an honorable name to a great extent. They threatened to fire him, just like the coach said he was looking at disciplining him on Sunday. He was the lone Steeler, Alejandro, that would come out, Army veteran, Army Ranger veteran, and put his hand over his chest. But see, the rest of the team had said, no, we're a cult. You don't have free speech. We can act like we're pissing on Trump in the end zone. That's okay. Nobody gets fined for that. We can cuss during the national anthem. We can do whatever we want. Just don't go put your hand over your chest. That's a no-no. You violated the team. You're bad. We're going to fire you. So he came out and said, I'm ashamed of myself of what I did. Because they're threatening his... What is he getting paid? $4, $5, $6 million a year? They're threatening his paycheck. In the end, Alejandro Villanueva's beliefs were more complicated than many wanted to hear. Oh, it's a complicated thing, because he's looking at getting fired now. So he says he's ashamed. They go, just forget about him. Let him get his paycheck. It was complicated. He says, I apologize. I'm ashamed of myself. I made my teammates look bad. These are all quotes. That's the cult we live in America, folks, where you write in your hat at West Point that communism will win and put your fist up. You're about to get a job probably running a subdirectorate of a major intelligence agency. You call yourself reality winner. You say you hate white people. They should all be genocided and you want to join ISIS. you get promoted to running an entire NSA FBI database. You say you hate America, you're going to the top. You're like Jack Posobiec, quietly enable intelligence for his country, based over in Asia, you name it, comes back, fights for the Trump campaign, helps him win, running one of his biggest groups. They say, oh, the president likes Jack Posobiec. He loses his security clearance. Let's kick him out of the Navy if we can. But, man, another guy pulls open a Che Guevara shirt and says communism will win. And you know now in the halls of power, young man, you're a good traitor. You're going to lower that drawbridge and bring down the republic. We need scum like you. Good job. That's how late the hour is. And look at these clips we've got coming up. NBA coach. White people especially need to be made to feel uncomfortable. Oh, like the 10-to-1 attacks on whites by blacks because they deserve it? The black folks in the... I've got a couple crime reports right here. The guy that went in and shot a bunch of people, killing folks at that Tennessee church because they were white and Christian, and he was an immigrant from Sudan and a Muslim. He said on his Facebook, and he's confessed to the police, he said, I wanted to kill a bunch of white people because they're racist. Well, if they weren't before, they might be now, and I think that's a bad thing. No, white folks on average see through all this. I wonder if there'll be anybody taking knees for those folks that got shot in the face, in the back. No. In fact, remember, a year ago, the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys wouldn't even have a few seconds for the 5 dead police officers, a couple of them black, in Dallas, who got shot in the back by Black Lives Matter and killed, and they denied the request. They told the Dallas Police Department, you got to pay money for that. And, of course, you know the NFL's getting paid. You know it's come out. They're getting paid for everything you see them do. All this anti-American crap, they're getting paid by big foundations. Just like Comedy Central's getting paid to put out a show every night of the week, lying about yours truly, misrepresenting what I say and what I do. And I don't even know if I'll even address that, though they want fodder for their little show, because they're not really that important. But it is important to address the propaganda. And in the piece, they let you know, their first show last night, who the enemy is. And you notice China, I first told you this about a decade ago, but now it's been all over the news. China finances the majority of U.S. movies, and all 6 of the big movie houses, the production companies. And they pay, in some cases, $20 million per film to just show a line of communist Chinese flags, to show a Politburo, and to have the Chinese president, who's a dictator, save the world from the aliens. They paid money for that in Arrival. Look it up. They paid money in The Martian that America couldn't produce booster rockets to get to Mars in the rescue mission, but the Chinese had rockets. They had to get them from us. The U.S. won't even let us produce our own rockets now as part of a strategic sabotage under Obama. We have to get them from the Russians. The United States had as good a boosters as the Russians have now in the 70s. But the plans were destroyed under secret executive order. That's right. The plans drawn up by the German scientists were destroyed. More globalist sabotage. And one of these shows, the opposition. Because see, in the show he goes, we're the conservatives, we're the opposition to the resistance. That's the big lie. When we're the resistance, Trump's the resistance. You're the resistance. We have the whole power structure, the whole globalist force. The communist Chinese, the Pope, Hollywood, the media, the big think tanks, the big telecoms, the big computer companies, the big social networks, Facebook, Twitters, Googles, all against Trump and America and a resurgence. And the NBA and the National Baseball League and all of it, all lined up against us. And little InfoWars is one of the big threats. Little InfoWars. And then the first thing they tell you in their promo, China isn't real. No, brother. We've sent our reporters many times to China. We've had our reporters inside North Korea. I get on the phone and talk to high-level people in the agencies, you name it, the president. What do you mean I don't know that China's real? That's what they sell, that we're these insular country bumpkins that don't know. No, I know China is probably, in fact, let's look into it, because I know they're funding Time Warner Productions, and I know they've had a bunch of mergers and stuff. Isn't Comedy Central, I meant to do this morning to check it. I don't even pay attention. Aren't they owned by Time Warner? Please look that up for me. No, I know. Comedy Central. Who owns Comedy Central? Who owns Comedy Central? Let's put that in a search engine. And I guarantee you, because I know Time Warner gets money from the Communist Chinese. I know Universal. I know Fox. I know they all do. So I said, notice I went from memory. It's either Viacom or it's, because it's been going back and forth. So Viacom, it's owned by Viacom. Viacom gets massive money. They own CBS. They own a bunch of the production houses. Viacom's the biggest media company in the world. Sumner Redstone is its founder. Viacom Group. And they are so in bed with the Communist Chinese, it'll make your head spin. So now when they go, look at these dumbass nationalist Americans, Alex Jones, he says China isn't real. A, that's a lie. You think that little candy-ass host that reads off teleprompters knows their demographics, their numbers, about the Qin dynasty, their wars against Japan, the history of what happened in South Korea, all the different angles about Chiang Kai-shek, the nationalist, how the CIA put Mao in, all the different white papers written about how the CIA supported. No, they don't know any of that. I know so much on China, it makes my head hurt. But see, we can get a skinny, slender, guy with a psychopath physique, and he can sit there and wolf-like tell you that Alex Jones doesn't know anything. That Alex Jones says China isn't real. And they call it the opposition. And they've got a term here about mental nationalism. Well, if you don't have nationalism and your own interest at heart, you're called a slave. But see, they invent these new words. The media acts like they're great linguists when they have giant teams of hundreds poring over this crap they put out. It's not even funny. They all hail it as God. And they spew all this bull. It's all coming up today. Congressman Ron Paul on a plan to stop the North Korean crisis. That's on Infowars.com as well, but we're not intellectual like you. No.
What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying. Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com.